Hey, we're just doing the best we can. I'm gonna move this over again, okay?
Hey guys, should we restart that?
No, it's live. It's
Alright.
forever.
It's too late.
It's like the love of Jesus. It's forever.
Oh,
Amen.
Wow.
Amen.
Y'all, that does look concerning.
Oh, hey.
I'm just saying.
Hey, Danielle. You were wondering if my bottom half was gonna be in the stream. I was like, no, it'll be covered up.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, I'm a farmer and I'm really proud of these new mud shoes that I got. Because so here they are, $12 off. So here they are, $12 off of Amazon.
That's impressive. And why don't you show the group your entire shirt? Can you just get to
Danielle
see
is not promoting marijuana, okay?
No.
That's what,
That is a
it's a
pineapple.
pineapple.
Yeah, because we're all about hospitality around here. And not
Come as you are,
illegal
obviously.
substances.
Come as you are.
But it does
But
look
if
a
you
little
do them,
concerning right here.
keep watching.
Next time we'll probably rotate the camera so that,
we're not squished.
you know, because
Because Kat's having a hard time getting in.
whatever. It's all right. Let's go with
Y'all,
it.
we had a lot of real stuff trying to get this table situated. We only had 3 chairs that were the height they were at. I was like a little midget person. So we just swiveled the chairs down and.
Hey, I want to ask something though.
Okay.
I want to know because it's been like 2 weeks since we've done this. I want to know what have y'all been up to?
Oh, well. Oh, I went to Florida.
Yeah, you took a vacation.
Yes, I took a little vacay with my mama. I took my mama to Florida. And she's so cute, y'all. She's not been many places. And so everything made her real excited. If you want to go with a thankful person, you need to take Tammy with you anywhere. And you will see the epitome of thankfulness and like childlike awe. So yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Where did y'all go?
Tampa.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun.
Had a good time. Did you get to get in the ocean or was it too cold?
We did not even go to the ocean. I know.
Tampa by the ocean.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Clearwater is by.
Clearwater Beach.
We used to go there a lot.
Yeah. Oh, and when you're on, guys, tell us hi. We want to hear from you. We want to know you're here. Give us a wave. Tell
Yeah.
us what you're doing.
Okay, Danielle, what have you been up to?
Not a lot. It's hunting season. So my husband's gone a lot on the weekends.
So
So
you've been up to everything, basically.
yes.
Yeah, I've been up
So I've been up to everything.
All the
All
things.
all the things. Yeah. Adeline is growing. She's sitting up by herself now. You know, she's so cute. Little baby. Her thighs are like that big around. Oh, you just eat them.
Love
Super
it.
cute.
So I'm busy momming.
Okay, Heidi, what have you been up to?
Not much. Jared, Kat's husband, helped us find a house, and it's amazing. So
I'm so excited for you guys.
Yeah.
Before Christmas.
Yeah.
Before Christmas, they're gonna be in their new house.
I love it.
Yeah,
It's
I'm really
huge.
excited.
So
I'm
if you like what Heidi brings to the table, she will be needing movers.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome. Yeah. My husband and I, we decided we're gonna build our recording studio in a grain bin, and so we found an architect, and we've been working on that. And as Danielle said, it's hunting season, so we have a farm, and we've got a 12-point buck we're eyeing on our farm, just like hoping to fill our freezer up with him. So anyway, yeah. And now it's November, one of my favorite months of the year because
Okay, so the big question about November, is it Christmas yet?
Yeah,
Or is it Thanksgiving?
absolutely.
it is Thanksgiving.
It's Christmas and Thanksgiving's gonna happen.
Right, in the middle of Christmas.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
but it's day after Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
Christmas movies start,
Yes.
and some Christmas decorations come out. I don't put up the tree until after Thanksgiving, but like we put up our like garland and stuff like that, which is really interesting in the RV. We're living in an RV while we build, and we're learning how few things you can plug in at the same time. And so Jared told me, he said, hey, babe, we're gonna really have to limit the amount of Christmas lights that we plug in this year. I was like, no, we're not. You're gonna install another breaker out there. Like, I'm gonna plug in all the lights. So that's, it's Christmas.
I don't
Yeah.
even worry about getting my tree up too soon because it stays up. Last year it stayed up to the end of March.
It did.
Why?
Because I am really bad at life sometimes. And so I would say it's because I love it that much, but
Okay,
no.
but you should tell them, how many hours do you think it takes you to decorate your tree?
It takes quite some time. It
That's
takes
why.
quite some time.
So y'all should see her tree. If you
How
see
big
her
is it?
tree,
Do you have like
you
a
would
giant
understand why it's
tree?
up until March.
Is it giant?
It's a lot of work.
We
y'all.
have to do this in front of your tree at Christmas
We
time.
will.
Yes! Oh my gosh.
This is my tree. It takes a lot of work. I mean, like full-blown sweat to get this thing up,
Wow.
and a little bit more whenever you take it down.
I don't have the option to keep mine up that long because we do a live tree. And so it's like, hey, it's dead.
Yeah,
Let's
you gotta
go.
go.
Let's
Get it
go.
out of here.
Yeah.
Jared has contemplated throwing the whole thing away with like all of our ornaments before because it was so. I was like, no, these mean something to me.
Mhm.
It's so funny.
Yeah, no, I just buy cheap plastic ones, but my goodness,
There must be a lot of them.
it's a lot of tree to decorate. It is. But it stays up till March, so I get to enjoy the fruits of my labor until March. So, okay, so we're in the month of November, and if you are on social media at all, I know y'all have seen it, I know you've seen it, everybody this month is talking about what they are
Thankful
for. Yeah. And so tonight we're going to be talking about thankfulness, but we're going to be kind of bringing a little bit of a spin to the idea of thankfulness. We love that there is a month where we can be just acutely aware of all the cool stuff that God has done for us, all the amazing people that are around us, the homes we live in, the food that we get to eat, the incredible country we live in. We have so much to be thankful for. But sometimes we have a disposition where as soon as January rolls around, we're not thankful anymore. When we're knee deep in March, the things that we might have had the grace to be thankful for in November, all of a sudden, you know, the new car smell kind of wears away, you know, and the things that you were writing down in your journal in November, all of a sudden, you know, it's crickets on social media. We're back to complaining in March where we were, you know, oh my goodness, this is so awesome. We're so thankful in November. So we're going to talk about tonight, how do you sustain thankfulness?
Yeah.
What is it? How do you sustain it? How is it something that you not only do for a specific season of the year, but it actually becomes a part
Yeah.
of who you are, and it's a lifestyle, it's a mindset, it's what you do, it's who you are, it's how you live. 365 days out of the year. So
Yeah.
that's what we're going to tackle tonight.
Love it. Love it.
Awesome. Okay, so what is it? What is it?
What's thankfulness?
Yeah, what is it?
I mean, I think, like, for me, thankfulness is, I want to live with this awareness of everything that God is doing. So I don't want to just celebrate when my husband gets a raise.
Right.
I want to celebrate that avocados are on sale at the grocery store.
Right.
You know, like, I want to, like, be so aware of the goodness of God that it just flows into every part of my life. So to me, thankfulness is just like, keeping my eyes open and my heart open to the things that God's, you know, blessing me with. Growing up, my dad grew up super poor, and so he just really instilled into me when I was a child that there's always going to be people that have less than me, that are having a worse day than I am, and so like keep my eyes on the good things, because the more we focus on the good, I think the more we replicate the good in our life. So
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Miss Heidi?
Well, something that came to mind is I know like a lot of times in our group we always talk about like the good news. And
yeah.
sometimes like when things are like rough and you like so focused on like the bad, the tough, the stressful part, like it's hard to think about like, oh, what are the good things? But like literally, like I remember you even saying like you have air conditioning in your home, you know what I mean? And so I find myself just thanking God, like when I'm just on my couch, I'm like, Lord, thanks so much for my house.
Yeah.
Like, thank you. It's beautiful. Like even this morning, I was talking to God and I was like, God, my house is beautiful. Thank you so much for the house I'm living in right now. And like,
Yeah.
like there's a leak in the window and everything, but still, like,
Like
know,
you have a window.
it's a window, yeah. It's like, it's incredible. And so just find, like exactly what you're saying, just finding the things that are good instead of the things that we don't have. you know, that, I don't know. That's good.
Awesome. So my question to you is, what are you thankful for? And we're gonna give you like 4 awkward seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. If nothing came to mind, what we want by the end of this podcast is to give you some actual,
Yeah.
real, tangible ways to take away some solutions, some how-tos. How can I fill that 4-second gap really quickly?
Yeah, that's good.
Not with huge things. Sometimes with huge things, but the huge things typically are more obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would say day to day, and I can't speak for everyone, but just for myself, I can't say that incredibly huge, amazing things are happening
Or like
day
every
in
day.
and day out. No, I'm a mom at home with 2 boys. I'm washing dishes. I'm changing out, the laundry and changing poopy diapers. I've got sick kids and a working husband. We've got a really full
Yeah.
life, and oftentimes the days can look really similar to one another. I've said that my life can sometimes resemble Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
And so, how do we extract? Oftentimes the most valuable things aren't necessarily floating at surface level. So what we want to do is we
That's
want to
good.
become really good diggers. How do we dig and unearth the things that might actually be covered with a layer of dirt? How do we unearth those
Yeah.
diamonds? How do we unearth those pearls? How do we unearth all the sweet, small things? Because if we begin to look for all the small things, I believe that it's going to equal something really, really huge.
Yeah.
So,
It's good.
yeah. So the actual definition of thankful, what is thankfulness? I looked this up for you guys in case y'all are just like rushing to get your Websters. I know you are. But in case you're not, what the dictionary said it's you're conscious of benefits received.
Yeah.
When you're thankful, there is this consciousness that I received a benefit. And I think oftentimes there is a breakdown or a tension because what I perceive as a benefit and what I perceive as something that is not a benefit. And so what we're going to talk about tonight is, what is a benefit? A benefit is something that is for our betterment, something that is for our good. And so oftentimes we find ourselves in places where things are dry, where we're experiencing delay, where we're experiencing something that looks like a roadblock. Maybe it's a diagnosis, maybe it's a lost job, maybe we've been waiting and waiting and waiting on a child or a promotion, something. We're walking through something really hard. And we look at that and our first inclination is to say, there are no benefits in this. There is nothing to be thankful for in this season that I'm in. There is nothing to be thankful for in what I just got told and the person who just walked out, whatever it is. And so what we want to do from the very beginning is we want to know, we have to establish that sometimes the things that God does, the means that he uses, we know that his word says he takes all things and he works them together for good. So he takes all things and uses them for our benefit.
Yeah.
And so when we know that he is taking all the things, the good, the bad, the ugly, the hard, the seasons where we're like up on the mountain, promotion, all good things, favor, blessing of the Lord, all the stuff we love that we know, we perceive that as a benefit.
Yeah.
That's all the stuff we're talking about on social media, right? What we want to do is I think our camera just moved.
Yeah.
What we want to do is understand that he takes the worst and he uses those to benefit us as well.
Yeah.
So we have got, if you're going to be a thankful person, you have to have a perspective shift.
Yeah.
I have to be able to view the hard as a benefit.
Yeah.
I've got to be able to view like the delays as a benefit. Maybe he's delaying something because it's not the right timing for me. And maybe what I think is the best for me isn't really the best for me. Maybe not ever, maybe not just for this season. Maybe he's wanting to develop something in me.
Yeah.
So
It's good.
yeah, that's thankfulness, that's benefits. So what are y'all's thoughts? What are your thoughts on that?
I have so many thoughts.
Yeah. Take it away.
Yeah, I was just, well, the last thing you said is that sometimes, he's delaying for our benefit. And I remember there's this time in my life where it looked like, my husband and I were songwriters. we're worship leaders. And there was this time in my life where we had written a few songs and we started to get a little bit of attention from like industry people for these songs. And it looked like we were about to like get to do this thing that we were like always feeling like we were supposed to do. And then all of a sudden, it all stopped. It all came to a halt. And we're like, what is going on here? You know, we went from living on this like high of we are so excited about life. Life is wonderful. We're so thankful to like dead silence and no progress. And it was really hard for us to walk through that and to think like, have I done something wrong? And like to keep positive. And God, I just felt like he whispered to me one day, like I'm standing in my kitchen and he's like, hey, this is a delay. It's not a no, and it's for your benefit. It's for your protection, because I'm trying to get the people around you that are going to be able to get you to where you're going, and you don't have those people right now. And in the moment, I was like, no, it's fine. You know, like I didn't get it, you know, but looking, like now, seeing where I am and looking back, I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful that I didn't walk forward in that season without like y'all by me or without like Heidi with me, you know? And so learning how to me, one of the things that I've really tried to focus on is learning how to look at disappointment and not let it like make me feel like my whole life is a disappointment. You know, like disappointing things will happen, but all of life isn't a disappointment. Unexpected things will happen, but even in the unexpected things, there is something still to rejoice about. And that's something that I've tried to be really intentional about in the way that I live.
What's a practical way that you stay faithful when you're facing, and you can call it a disappointment. I don't think we have to call it anything else. It's disappointing. I mean, we feel things. So how, from a practical standpoint, how did you stay faithful in a place of disappointment?
Yeah, just a couple of things that come to my head. Number one, who you surround yourself with is crucial to your health. Not only like your soul health, but like your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health, like who you're surrounding yourself with, that really matters. And so there are so many times that I'm not trying to be weird. Like I have like friends. I'm just someone, I've always had friends, but finding the friends that can be always in my corner that I can go to for anything, that's something that I've really tried to search for. I found a lot of those friends at church. And so what I do is I'm facing a disappointment. I'll send Heidi or one of my friends a text and I'll be like, hey, this is going on. I'm having a hard time. I don't even have to say, can you encourage me? Yeah. Can you like let me know like that someone's with me? Immediately, like I feel like I did that to you the other day. I'm preaching on Sunday. I'm freaking out. I'm so not prepared. And Heidi like sends me this really long text message, you know, just encouraging me. So having friends that are looking beyond your moment, like that are looking beyond the moment that you're in and seeing like the view of your life and reminding you, hey, there's something really great going on. That is like super big. That's one of the things I'm most thankful for. And then number two, Heidi hit on it earlier, and it's something we do a lot in our worship culture is we share the good news. And so what we do is we get together every time before we do anything and we just share, hey, what's one good thing that's going on? Yeah. So sometimes we get together and I've had like an awful day, like a terrible day, but by the time I've heard 3 or 4 people tell me like a good thing that's happened to them, I'm like, what? Yeah, you know what? Okay, I have clothes on. You know, I'm taking like that basic, because like how weird would it be if I wasn't wearing clothes? That'd be awful, you know? And so just trying to keep the goodness in front of me and have people that are on board with that.
Yeah. So I love how you mentioned.
I'm thankful that you're clothed.
Yeah.
I'm thankful that we're all clothed.
Yes.
I'm saying, you should be thankful for that tomorrow on your Facebook.
Oh my gosh. Okay. No, I loved how you're talking about being thankful like disappointment. Like I think, like I mean, just even a few days ago, you know, I was disappointed with like kind of an outcome, and just being able to go on the other side of that and say, God, I just thank you for being good. You're always good, always. And like you have to kind of like remind yourself a little bit, you know, and just always speak out like God's good. Like I'm never gonna let myself forget that, because that is like the biggest thing that I've learned. And so like I do not doubt that God is good. And so just coming out on the other side and just speaking that, and even when it's like painful, you know, like I don't know, but like even when it's like so hard, you know, to sing songs about, you know, your promises never fail.
Yeah.
Or like
We'll see your goodness in the land of the living.
Yeah. Like I remember like on a Wednesday, I just was singing that song. I love that song, like so good.
What song are you talking about?
Your promises never fail.
Yeah.
What song is that called?
Promises.
Promises. Yeah. And I was just like so hard to sing, but I was like, I'm gonna sing this because I know like God is good and He always keeps His promises, and I'm gonna stay faithful because I know on the other end of this, like it's gonna be rewarding. Like I'm proud of myself, you know what I mean? And so just being, thank you. Oh my gosh. But yeah, just being thankful in the midst of disappointment is so important.
Yeah, but also going off of that, sometimes like you have to tell your soul what to believe. Like sometimes like feelings are powerful, and sometimes it's easier to feel and like to stay in these feelings, and like sometimes I have to remind my soul, no, God is still good. Like, no, there is so much to be thankful for. Let me take it down to, I'm going to remember my worst day. This is way better than my worst day. Thank you, God, that you got me from that point. And thank you that, like, this isn't my best day, but it's definitely not my worst day. And thank you for that. Like, I go to that a lot.
The Apostle Paul in the Word, he says, count it all joy. And, you know, if you didn't have much context about who the guy was, this is the guy who had literally been through, like, what we would call hell on earth. I mean, everything you could possibly imagine he experienced. And so we find that joy is a piece of the puzzle, that there's actually some things that thankfulness is connected to. So what are some of those things?
I love how she turns and looks at me like, you need to say something.
I know, you've been so silent.
Okay, so my thankfulness is a huge part of my life. My reasoning is a little bit differently, because yes, I'm thankful for all the things and through the disappointments, but I'm a nerd. I'm a huge nerd. And so I go back to the word. You see, like, every time, so the word thanks, give thanks, in the Greek is eucharisteo. And that word, the
Say that
root,
10 times.
Say it 10 times fast.
Eucharisteo.
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 The root word of that is joy. Kara, or I don't know exactly how it's pronounced. I forgot to look it up.
We trust you, though.
But, but it's joy. So you see a relation between joy and giving thanks. And then also, charis is in the middle of that, and charis is grace. So there's joy, grace, and give thanks. These words are all from the same root in the Greek. So the coolest thing to me is that not only can we give thanks on, are you saying something about me?
No.
She just like slightly passed this note, like y'all couldn't see it.
And
I'm
then
not
we answered,
Sue.
like, no.
Like, if she's the nerd, I'm the dork, okay? Like, I'm calling you.
You're a hot mess.
This is real. Go after your dreams wherever you're at.
That's true.
It's true.
Come.
Anyways, so it's good. You need to be thankful in the midst of disappointment. But what about when your mom dies and you're 29 years old?
Yeah.
What about when you get diagnosed with breast cancer and you're 34? How on earth are you supposed to live in a thankful state in there? And is that even possible? I believe it is. I believe that everything in the Word of God points to a yes. It is possible to live a thankful life, because thankfulness is not dependent on your circumstances.
Yeah.
But that is so hard. So hard. It's really easy for us to sit here and talk about how thankful we are for living in an air-conditioned home, but there are a lot of people who don't even have a home, yet they can still live in thankfulness, because thankfulness is a posture. It's a posture that you choose to take. And if you are courageous enough and bold enough to take that posture, then the result is joy.
Yeah.
And joy is your strength. The word says that.
Good
And
word.
because of joy, what joy actually means in the Greek, it means grace recognized. So if you are a joyful person, you are recognizing grace. Now, each moment that we live is a grace-filled moment, whether we like it or not. I love that we're talking about the benefits, we just have to change our mindset of what we perceive as a benefit in our lives. I would never think of cancer as a benefit, but it might be. Like, wrap your head around that. Cancer might be a benefit in your life. Why? What are some reasons that can make it that? Well, maybe in that journey, you are going to be in a hospital bed and one of your doctors is not going to know Jesus, but because you are in that bed and you choose to live with a posture of thankfulness and you choose to let joy be your strength, that doctor is going to see Jesus, and that doctor is going to have his eternal salvation, his eternal destiny changed. That's worth it. That is a benefit that you can't see coming, but it's so vital that you live in a posture of thankfulness. I didn't really understand this until I saw this lived out in front of me. I'm a highly emotional person. You know, I cry at like the drop of a hat. But then at the same time, I laugh hysterically at the drop of a hat. I'm just highly emotional.
Okay.
So everything in my life was just like a feeling. And then about 5 or 6 years ago, my cousin died. He died really unexpectedly. And I watched my aunt and uncle walk through that circumstance with love and joy and peace and thankfulness. And I was like blown away. I couldn't understand it, but I watched them. And I determined in my life at that point, I want to live like that, because I am never guaranteed that I am not going to have to face the loss of my child. But if I have to face that, if that's a road that the Lord takes me down, I want to face it like that. So what are they doing that I'm not currently doing? And they were like, they lived with their hands like this. Like, God, everything that you give me, I can be thankful for. I'm not going to close my hands to anything, because then I'm not, it's ingratitude. The real sin, like the real fall of man, was ingratitude. We all of a sudden decided that we weren't grateful for what God had given us in the Garden of Eden, and so we closed our hands. But if we would just walk with our hands open, that's hard, because I walk through life and I'm like, I'll walk with my hands open, but I'm going to close it to cancer. I'm going to close it to a sudden heart attack. I'm going to close it to a car accident. I'm going to close it to something, because I don't think I can get through those moments. You can. You can.
Keep them closed unless we perceive it as a benefit.
Right. And how could you perceive that as a benefit? It's because it's not the definition that we normally think of. I mean, we think of a benefit as just a hooray, hi-ya, good, celebratory high-five thing. But are y'all following on Instagram right now Amanda Hour's story with Rowan, baby Rowan? I know that somebody is. Listen, the guitarist for Phil Wickham, his name is Josh Hour. His daughter, little Rowan, she's 3 years old. We have 3-year-olds. She's 3 years old. She's been in the hospital for 7 weeks with heart issues, like serious problems. Amanda is one of the most joyful people walking through this, and it's insane. But y'all, here's the coolest part. People ask her why, and people want to know why. On Instagram, before all of this happened, she had 7,600 followers. Now, with Rowan in the hospital, she has 56,000 followers. I'm gonna start crying. 56,000 followers, and on the daily, she gets messages from people who said, "I've never prayed before in my life, but I am praying for a miracle for Rowan right now." Y'all, Thanksgiving precedes the miracle every single time. So if you will live your life thankful for whatever comes, the miracle is going to follow. Rowan is going to be healed. She already is healed in the supernatural. She's going to be healed, but because her family is choosing to walk through this situation with thankful hearts and hearts open like this to whatever God's going to give, thousands and thousands and thousands of people are praying to a Jesus they have never ever met before. And that's worth it. That's a benefit. That's a benefit.
That's cool.
It's a benefit.
I was just gonna say, one of the things also that I just think is so cool about the Father is that he's able to turn anything into a benefit. You know, like, so it's not like God, like, somebody posted this meme, I think I talk about it a whole lot, but it's not like God said, I'm gonna create the world and then I'm gonna give Danielle cancer.
Right,
You know, like he
right.
doesn't say, it's like that's a scheme of the enemy. But God is like so much stronger than that. In the midst of our darkest moments, the moments where it seems like we have everything to be sad about and nothing to be thankful about, we have the person of Jesus with us, which is peace, and he's able to take every circumstance and turn it into a benefit. And then our thankfulness often creates the environment for the miracle to happen. So one of the things I'm talking about on Sunday is that Jesus, he tells the Roman officer, it will be exactly as you believed. You know, and so like, what are we believing? Like, what are we dwelling on? You know, is it thankfulness? Is it like hope? Then that's what we see in our life.
Right.
Yeah, I like that.
I was reading a little bit about Paul, and I was like, I mean, this man is just a freak of nature. You know, I mean, you read his life, and I mean, we have the benefit of knowing the beginning to the end, but we're reading about a man who didn't know the end. Like, he was just stuck in the story. You know, I mean, he was just taking one day at a time, and you know, there's passages where he's writing, and he's actually writing from a prison cell, and you're just like, I don't get that. That I feel like oftentimes, you know, we live in a day and age where, and I don't think these things are bad or wrong by any means. I've got like the Enneagram app on my phone, all that kind of stuff, but I think we have labeled ourselves and had labels put on us. I'm an optimist, I'm a pessimist, I'm a realist, and I feel like thankfulness, I don't even feel, thankfulness is a supernatural thing. What is supernatural? It just means it's not natural to our human nature. It does not matter what your personality type is. There is something that Jesus does whenever he like flips the script, and he just says, I want you to be thankful in all things because you have hope. And I'm looking at Paul's life, and I'm like, okay, I see that you did do this, and now the big question is how. That's always like the big question. H-O-W, how? Because I want to do it too, so I need to see how you did it. And we see that Paul was not limited to his misery. He was so focused on his mission, like he knew I was created and I was put on this earth for this time to do a specific task. And if I will completely submit to the mission, if I will even just be aware that I'm on mission, some of us don't even know we're on mission. He knew he was on a mission, and he knew that he had about this much time to complete it in the grand scheme of life. And so I think that was really telling to me. I think sometimes in my little country home, in my little bubble, you know, things just seem, things just seem so huge, you know, and so I was thinking, I need to do a better job at realizing that I'm just here for this long. And I want to make that thing count. And I think oftentimes we feel like we have so much time. You know, like I've got so much time. I'm 29 years old. I'll be 30 in March. So sometimes my tendency is like, I've got 60 years ahead of me. I could have 70 years. But if you're 29 and then like God calls you home when you're 35, you're actually quite old. You know? And if you're 59 and you've got till you're 109, you're actually quite young. So the age has nothing to do with it. You be thankful right where you are because you have this space of time. And it might be extremely long, and it might be very short. So make the most out of it. You just drink as much sweetness out of each day as you possibly can. You've got to. Like, the people around you need you to. What I took from that story, you're talking about how she went from, you know, a few thousand, 7,000 followers to 56,000 followers. Do you see how people, it's like moths to a flame. When there is someone in a world who is so quick to point out all the negative things, you turn on any channel and there will be something negative on it about someone, about something, about the state of this world, the state of people, the state of humanity, and God has something different to say. His script looks different, it reads different than CNN and Fox News. And so I would encourage you, be very selective in what you hear and who you're hearing it from. If it is not a good news, if it is not full of hope, can I just tell you, I don't believe that is the end of the story.
Right.
If it does not end in hope, then it is just simply not the
Uh-huh.
end. And so hold on fast, hold fast to your thankfulness. Look for it. One of the it actually is imperative. I was reading in Luke 17, and it was if you're not familiar with the story, there was 10 lepers. What's a leper? It's not a cat in Africa. It is a person who has a skin disease. It is a person,
Oh, not a leopard.
not a leopard.
Yeah.
It's a leper. They were called lepers. I don't know what they're called in modern day. I think it's like Hansen's disease. It's like modern day.
Can't,
Squirrel. The umba.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can follow it. Yeah, squirrel. Anyway, so in Luke 17, there was these 10 lepers. They all had the skin disease. And Jesus walks on the scene and he heals all 10. You're healed. And of the 10, 9 walk away. Only 1 came back. And it said that he came and he was shouting in a loud voice and glorifying God. And Jesus said, I want you to stand up and I want you to go. Your faith has made you well. And what he's saying there's so much more to the word. Essentially he's saying is the 9, they walked away with a physical healing.
Yeah.
But the word there, it's the word sozo, which means salvation. So he's like, they walked away with partial healing. You know, we're body, soul, spirit. They walked away and their bodies were whole, but their souls and their spirits were not. And the one guy who came back, and it says he came back and he was so full of joy and so full of thanksgiving that he walked away from Jesus with a complete healing. He was made whole. His thanksgiving preceded the wholeness.
Yeah, that's good.
So whatever area it is that you need wholeness in, whether it be your mental well-being, whether it be your physical, you need a physical healing, whether you need an emotional healing, whatever type of healing you need, I promise you cannot receive a full, whole healing without thanksgiving. You can't do it without thankfulness. The one leper of the 10, and which blows my mind. I mean, if you understand what a leper had to experience, they couldn't live around people. They had to live on the outskirts of town. Leprosy was considered to be very contagious. They had to live in isolation. They lived in the areas where people would dump all like their waste. They lived in the areas where they would carry dead bodies. This was a place of death. It stunk there. It was isolated. And anytime they were around somebody, they had to literally yell, I'm unclean. I'm dirty. That way no one would come by them. Some of them hadn't been touched for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And you read the story and you think, having experienced that, I mean, that is miserable. To me, that is hell on earth. To not have any human contact and literally be in waste, like living amongst waste. And like for not only,
Sorry.
none of them
I'm an introvert.
Like
Yeah.
she said,
For me, that would
you're
be-
the biggest extrovert out of all of us. I
For
think.
me, that would be awful. And so, I mean, naturally, I read this story and I think, what is wrong with these 9 people? Like that they wouldn't even feel compelled to come and say thank you. That they just get to walk away healed. They didn't do anything. They didn't do anything. They were just happened to be at the right place at the right time, and Jesus came up on that scene and says, go, you're healed. Yeah. And they didn't even think to say thank you. And I read this story and I'm like, I am so sorry. They are jerks.
Yeah.
Like, and then I just felt like God said, that's you. Like, how often are we the 9? And how often are we the 1? We read the story and it's like, well, duh, you should have said thank you.
Yeah.
But I feel like sometimes we're the 9 more than we're the 1. And because we're the 9 more than we're the 1, we don't have the fullness and the wholeness and the healing that we were designed and created to have in every single aspect of our life. If you need healing, if you need wholeness, there's peace. The word there is peace. There is a renewal of the mind. If you need peace, you cannot have it without being thankful. It is the gateway to everything that you need, everything that we desire and crave as human beings. Wholeness, purpose, satisfaction. It's all preceded with thankfulness. That is the gateway. So,
It's good.
yeah.
All right, closing thoughts. You go first.
I was thinking we should just like show them what it's like to do the good news.
Do it.
Okay, so we're gonna just show you a quick exercise that we do called the good news. Okay, Heidi, do you wanna start? We're gonna share something good that's happened in our life in the past week. Can't go further back than a week. Let's do today.
Oh, I know.
Let's do something really practical. Something good that happened today. Can we do that? Something good that happened today doesn't have to be spiritual. Literally.
Yeah.
Anything.
Mine is not going to be.
My
Anything
favorite
good.
one, my friend Claire, she like goes to good news. She's like, I took a nap today, or like the next week, I took 2 naps today.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes.
That's
Okay.
awesome.
My good news is my mom's in town and she bought me Chipotle.
That's awesome.
I know.
That's very
So
good.
excited.
Okay, Danielle.
My good news is that Jason is mostly off on Thursdays, and so this afternoon I got to go to the gym. It was the 4th day in a row. Y'all,
That's
4th
awesome.
day in a row. That's so exciting.
Super cool.
So I had to go to the gym, and I got to go buy Sonicare toothbrushes.
Wow.
Okay, there you go.
Dental
Speaking
hygienist.
my language. Brush
Very
your teeth
excited.
twice a day and floss. So my good news is my children, it just so happened, we had a divine moment. They slept at the same time for an extended amount of time. And
That's a big deal.
I got to I turned on the fireplace.
Oh,
And I
that's so
just,
cool.
I drank water out of a coffee mug.
You do
Yeah.
that a lot.
I'm doing it right now.
Well, I know you
This
are
is
right
water,
now.
this is coffee. But I do that on the
She's
regular.
fancy.
I'm like an ambiance kind of person.
Oh, okay.
So
Cool.
yeah, it just felt good.
That's
Felt-
awesome.
Felt really happy to be here.
I'm excited for you. Okay, my good news is today, my husband and I, we did a prophetic Skype call with Bethel, with their prophetic teams.
That's
we
mine
got an
too.
awesome word.
That's
Heidi
my
did
good
too.
news too.
Yeah, so that's a spiritual one. It was so cool. A non-spiritual one is my husband's at home with our kids right now making dinner. I'm gonna go home, have some awesome dinner, and watch a Hallmark Christmas movie, and I'm so excited.
Awesome. So in party, we feel like, there's a lot of things we could say to you, but there's really some things that we would love for you to do. We want you to be able to have some very tangible things. I feel like sometimes people can talk at us, but if there's nothing that we can take away to start implementing some practical, easy things that lead to some life-changing things over a long period of time, then we've not done anything. We've just talked. So Danielle, can you tell them just some practical things that they can do?
Yeah, so I'll just give you a couple really quick. First, if you find yourself in a place where you really, really struggle with this idea of thankfulness, where do I even start? I need more information on this. How do I do it? I am going to encourage you to go pick this book up. It is called 1,000 Gifts. It's written
Why
by
don't we do it as a
Ann
giveaway?
Voskamp. We're going to do this as a giveaway. I don't know how we'll figure out the
Heidi's gonna figure that out.
Heidi's gonna
Lifeway
do that
too.
one. But you need to read that book. I'm not kidding. This book,
Drive
I
yourself.
know what aisle it's in. Christian Living devotionals.
They always interrupt me.
Oh, because we just get so excited about what you're talking about.
I talk about the good things.
Okay,
Just kidding.
So get the book,
Get the book.
1,000 Gifts,
It really
and Boston.
helped me. It helped me, and it reads really well. So the next thing that I would encourage you to do is stay in the Word. Make it a point to be in the Word for at least 10 minutes every day. 10 minutes is not that long. Set a timer. Got a timer. Set a timer for 10 minutes if that's something that you're struggling with doing. I promise you that if you make that habit in your life, you're going to find things to be thankful for because you're going to be connected with the one who's giving the gifts. The third thing that I would encourage you to do is actually start a thankfulness list. Don't do it on social media. Stop it with that. Do it in a brick and mortar. No, well, you can.
I
but
thought you
don't
were saying
start
do it
it-
on a brick.
Oh.
I thought you were like go to Lowe's,
We're
buy
going
some
back to Mount
bricks.
Sinai.
Yeah.
Go buy a brick and go buy a chisel and learn how to use it.
Or some charcoal even.
Hieroglyphic. What are those?
Hieroglyphics.
I like the water.
Listen, I'm a nerd about Greek. I'm not a nerd about
Egypt.
all that.
Anyways.
Anyways, seriously, start a thankfulness list. Get
Yeah.
a journal and write down 3 things. 3
Yes.
things every single day
Hey.
that you're thankful for. And don't stop when November stops. Do not stop. Keep going. And periodically go back and read
Yeah,
the
that's
things
really
that
good.
you've written down because you're going to have days when you get a diagnosis. You're going to have days when your husband loses his job. And if you can go back and read all those things that you're thankful for, it's going to be just like what Heidi and Kat were talking about. When she had a really bad day, but 3 or 4 people started talking about the good news, and all of a sudden she could think of something she was thankful for,
Yeah.
you will too.
Hey, I was just thinking, like, one thing that I do, it's kind of nerdy, but like, I even rehearse, I don't always like think to write it down, but like while I'm driving,
Yes.
I'll just do this thing like, hey, I'm driving right now, I'm just gonna think of things I'm thankful for.
Yeah.
Or like, when I'm taking a shower, I'll just like go through like, hey, what are a few things that I'm thankful for today? It's just like, I'm making like an intentional effort.
Yeah.
And then also, have you done that thing, like where you get a jar during the year and you write down, like every
Memories.
time something good happens.
Jason and I do that.
Yeah, so
We've done
this
that
is
for
one
like
of the
6
things
years.
that we like to do. You get a jar, and every time something good happens, you write it down, and then you put it in the jar. And then we usually do it like on New Year's Day.
Yep.
But sometimes, like if I'm having a moment, I'll give me that jar.
I need to read something.
Yeah. But then, like we just look back and we read all the good things that happened. Like
Fun
I
things.
do that too.
So let's be honest, not all days are rainbows and butterflies. Some days are really hard.
Yeah.
Some days are really mundane. And so what we hope that you purpose to do is to be really good diggers.
Yeah.
You're going to dig for the gold every day. And some days might require you to dig a little bit deeper than others. But I believe thankfulness is almost like a muscle. You've got to build it. You've got to develop it. And the more you do it, the easier it'll be. And the less sore you'll be.
I
Yeah.
have one more thing. Hey, I just got this idea in my head, and I think it's for somebody. Set a timer on your phone or an alarm on your phone for every single day that just says thankful, or something that will remind
Oh,
you
that's
to
good.
be thankful that day. I feel like there's going to be people that are watching this that it's just not a habit of yours, and so
Yeah.
to make it a habit, make it a habit. So
Yeah.
set an alarm on your phone for every single day at a
Good.
certain time.
Awesome.
Okay, guys, we love y'all, and we'll be tuning in
Next
We'll be doing
week.
a giveaway. So
Yes.
for that book. I don't know the deets, but we'll
We're
figure it out.
gonna do a giveaway between now and next time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we're gonna be live again next week.
We will. Next
And if we
Thursday.
could ask a few things from you. If you could like this video, share it. Share it with your friends.
Subscribe to our YouTube.
Subscribe to YouTube. Can
Yeah.
you tell them where they can find us? All the little places that we are?
Yes, so we're on Instagram, threads_podcast, and Facebook, Threads Podcast, and of course YouTube here. So go ahead and subscribe. That's how you're gonna find these new
Yeah.
notifications. That's
Share
where-
it.
Yeah, share.
Share.
Yeah.
And send us your questions,
Oh, yeah,
your
you can
thoughts. We
email
want to
us.
hear from you. We want to talk to you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, have a
Love
great
you guys.
week.
We'll
We'll
see
see
you
ya.
next week. Bye.